Hello there, and this is another recording, my episode 3, where I'm just trying to create a series of episodes about starting a business and running a business in Sri Lanka. Now, in the previous episodes, I spoke about the decision of setting up a private limited, maybe a little bit of ideas about selecting partners and shareholders. The second episode, I spoke about the process of registering a company in Sri Lanka and the cost involved. And today I'm going to talk about the very important thing, the bank accounts. Setting up a bank account and selection of a bank account. Now, this episode is going to be an extremely short one because, to be very honest with you, there's really not a major selection here, and there's really not much of a majorly decision that we made over the last 2 years. I have bitched and complained about how bad my current bank is and providing support for me as a startup, and I have actually got no support at all. And I've got so many different inputs from different players, different friends, saying that you should bank here, you should bank there, etc. But ultimately, it all boiled down to this. Now, after you have set up the company, the next step would be for you to get a board resolution saying that as an organization, you have decided to open a bank account, and then you have to get a checkbook. So that also too will need a board resolution. Now, during this time, you might decide whether you need a single signature, dual signature, whatever the process that you want to establish, that has to be established very clearly and communicated to the bank. You may need a board resolution to get your online access. So all of these board resolutions are things that company secretariat will actually assist you in getting done. Once this is done, then I think it becomes a bit more like a routine process. Now, we went to one of the leading banks in Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan bank, and our intention of going there was, first of all, is credibility, first of all, financial strength, and hopefully, as a business idea, some level of kind of transfer of some of those facilities back to us. Unfortunately, none of that happened. Even when I remember when I started off the account, the bank manager communicated to me as if it was a major favor to us, which I believe it was at that time. Then we actually had to borrow some money from one of my business partner's father, who gave us like a 500,000 as our opening deposit to get the bank account opened and started. Those are painful moments, and the other weirdest thing is that myself and my business partner both had to be there, sign, physically be present. I believe that some of these things are extremely dated and not relevant anymore, but I think everybody follows it because that's like the way it had been done for the last 35,000 years. We set it up, and then we have been doing transactions there. I'm not a firm believer of selling parts of your business and raising money. I know that that is like the fad about these days startups, and then actually people would want to raise money from investors. I firmly do not believe in that. I believe you have a solid business, and the business should actually pay for itself. You might want to think about investments in a strategic way in terms of expansions abroad, expansion in terms of retaining talent, and more like brand visibility, association, growth by association, and those are the reasons I believe you will actually need partnerships, and where you will actually want to think about giving away stake. If you are just trying to run businesses just on purely investment that you are getting, I believe that's a bad idea. Now, what we expected when we set up a bank is to provide us a bit of an air cover at the time when we actually had cash flow situations. Now, we have started the company, we have recruited people. I will be covering about hiring and recruitment in a completely different episode. And then there were times that we just couldn't collect money fast enough. And I think at that moment, we expected for the banks to step in and support us temporarily, maybe with even a massive interest rate. Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, that structure does not exist. Even today, after almost 2.5 years of running the business, when we wanted to get a facility, they actually wanted collateral that either belongs to, like a land that belongs to me or to my business partner in order to it. So my recommendation for you is that we have bunch of banks. Um, the selection of the bank is completely up to you. I really don't think there's any different from one bank to the other. Hugely process driven and have absolutely no understanding of a startup, especially a successful startup or a failed startup. They will always be protecting their interest. So if you are a private limited that is starting up and if you are expecting support financially or otherwise from a bank in Sri Lanka, my recommendation is just simply forget about it. That's not going to happen. So you can decide any of the banks, which is probably open 365. That's a very important thing to have. I luckily for us, the bank we selected have one branch, which is pretty close to my house, that is open 365, and I think that helps us because we usually run to the bank almost every other day when we don't have money and when we have to pay suppliers, etc. But I believe things should get settled over a period of time. Hope this helps. Ask me any questions you want. The email is here, and look forward to hearing from you and seeing your comments, and looking forward to the next episode where I will be talking a little bit about the startups world and how you should navigate through.